Erased Matriarchy. Unearthing the history of female power.
We usually think of traditional marriage as a stabilizer, a foundation for society. But if you look at the legal records from the 1st century, marriage wasn't about family values. It was a weapon of war. This is erased matriarchy.
A weapon? You mean like political alliances between kings?
No, I mean a tool used to break a nation's spirit. To understand this, we have to go back to the Red River Delta, what is now Vietnam, before the Han Dynasty took over. The culture there, known as Nam Viet, was distinctly matrilineal.
Okay, so lineage was traced through the mother.
It went deeper than that. Women inherited the property. They managed the finances. And crucially, they initiated marriage. If a divorce happened, the woman kept the assets. It was a society where female authority was the default, not the exception.
That sounds remarkably different from the history books I read.
Exactly. And that difference terrified the Han Chinese Empire when they invaded around 111 BC. To the Han administrators, this female independence looked like chaos. They needed to assimilate the region, and they identified the root of the local power structure: the women. So they tried to import the Confucian concept of the 3 obediences.
I've heard that term. What are the 3 again?
A woman must obey her father, then her husband, and finally, if the husband dies, her son. Total, lifelong submission. They tried to force this on the Vietnamese, but the women didn't just refuse, they revolted.
This is where the Trung Sisters come in.
Right. In 40 A.D., Trung Trec and her sister, Trung Nhi. The history books often say Trec fought because her husband was killed, framing it as a wife's revenge. But the older records suggest she fought because she was a leader whose authority was being stripped. They raised an army, and get this, their generals were mostly women.
That must have been a shock to the Imperial generals.
It was a disaster for them. The sisters liberated 65 citadels and proclaimed themselves queens. For 3 years, they restored the old way. But the empire couldn't let that stand. They sent General Ma Yuan, a brutal commander, to crush them. And I'm guessing he won. He did. The sisters died in 43 A.D. But Ma Yuan realized that defeating the army wasn't enough. As long as the matrilineal culture existed, the resistance would return. So he began the erasure. He melted down their bronze drums, the symbols of their authority, and he didn't just suggest the 3 obediences anymore. He weaponized them. How do you weaponize a marriage law? By forcing Vietnamese women to marry Chinese soldiers and strictly enforcing the new patriarchal laws. It was a counterinsurgency tactic. By stripping women of their property rights and legal standing, he ensured they could never fund or lead a rebellion again. Wow, so the traditional family structure there was literally installed to prevent independence. Precisely. It wasn't biological destiny, it was political engineering. They replaced a system of equality with a hierarchy of submission, specifically to turn a rebellious nation into an obedient colony.
Ignite your muse with drops of inspiration. Search Musedrops.